a warm welcome to all of you. This is Bulls and Red, our RB Leipzig podcast at home at Leipzig and made for wherever you are. Actually made for you, wherever you are. We are slightly late this week, and that's due to Richard's extensive travels to Austria. And we took an extra evening off. So today our podcast will be coming out, will be published a little bit closer to tonight's kickoff versus Union Berlin. But hopefully this will not stop you from listening to us. It would be great if you could continue supporting us that way. And at this point, I'd like to welcome the pot end of the podcast and the pot of the podcast, the brain of the podcast and the extensive traveler, frequent traveler, Richard. How are you today?
The brain of the brains. Thank you. Well, it's relatively early Saturday morning, but I slept well. I'm fine, well prepared, and I got lots of stories to tell.
Brilliant. Today we're going to be talking about your trip to Klagenfurt, and we like to talk about the transfer news or lack of a little bit later. And of course, we're going to have a preview on tonight's match versus the Eisernen in the Wohlheite. 1. FC Union Berlin. But first, let's turn to recent events. Now, we know you took a trip out to Klagenfurt in Austria. Why the heck did you go to Austria in the middle of the week?
Why not? It's a beautiful city. Lakes, rivers, mountains, you get everything. Except an access to a ocean, but besides of that, you have everything in Austria, and it's cool. Now, to be honest, well, I thought about that when the draw happened in late summer, and it was in August, I think. And I was like, okay, I would like to visit at least one away match in the Champions League, and then was the different options. And I was like, good, let's go to Klagenfurt because I'd like to travel by train. And to Milano, it's a bit far to travel by train. The other away match was at Madrid. That's even further away and no real option because you need to take a night at a hotel or somewhere else around Paris. Otherwise, you can get there on the rail. And what was the fourth away match was at Celtic. Yeah, Celtic Park. So even pretty much the same reason you cannot get there in a proper amount of time. When you would like to travel with the trains, and I'd like to did that, and so Klagenfurt was the only logical option left.
Okay, and how long did it take you to get there?
It was almost 11 hours. Okay. It seems like a long trip, but to be honest, that one went just by really fast because I started in a heck in the early morning, and the departure time of my first domestic train was like 5:48 or something.
Wow.
It brought me to Nuremberg. Yes, to Nuremberg. And then I had like 20 minutes to switch the trains. And the next one was the train to Vienna that brought me to Linz in Oberösterreich. So in Upper Austria. And then I had to switch again to a local train. And it was heck of a beauty because that train went right down south from Linz to Leoben, what's in the near of Graz. And, by the time, I think the departure was like 12 something. And the scheduled travel time was 2 hours and, 2.5 hours or something like that. And I was like, okay, that would be a nice option to take a little nap here and there. But, as soon as the train left like for 30 minutes, we went right into the mountains, and there was not even 100 meters at length that was without a corner or without a tunnel or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, and every time I looked out of the window, there was a new a new view. I could not get satisfied enough to watch. So because like mountains, snowy mountains, bridges, steep hills, snow, old houses, small towns. It's just like in a movie. I was in my own documentary traveling through Austria. It was so beautiful, and finally I had to switch the trains for the last time at Leoben, and then it was like another 2 hours ride to Klagenfurt finally in the train that could have brought me to Venice if I would have stayed in there. I could have traveled to Venice within 4 more hours. But I stepped out of Klagenfurt and was like 4 p.m. 19 or something like that. So yeah, it was about 11 hours. Not it was close to 11 hours. Yeah.
It seems like you were actually enjoying some stunning views, a little bit like in the fairy tale movie. Maybe one by Walt Disney. Sounds like that. Beautiful ride. Beautiful ride. Wonderful. So when you stepped out and you walked into Klagenfurt, do we picture Klagenfurt as a typical Austrian-style town in the winter? Did you have some snow, by the way? You didn't, did you?
No, in Klagenfurt itself there was no snow. But on the way, through the middle Austria, there was quite a lot of snow. Not only on the tops of the mountains, but also just next to the track. Then when I stepped out and you asked me if it is a typical Austrian town, I to be honest, I don't have that much history with Austria, with traveling to Austria and visiting different Austrian towns. But I felt like it's typical German Austrian architecture from the 18th and 19th century. And when I finally found the zone where cars were not allowed, so in Germany we would say the Fußgängerzone. I don't know
pedestrian zone.
Yeah, pedestrian zone. Well, it seemed like a typical Bavarian or a Thuringian town, and it's with really small streets or roads where never a car would have passed through, and really old buildings, and it felt like I was in Erfurt at some point. So because I felt remembered to Erfurt, and it was quite nice. But I was a little bit curious because I read in forehand that 800 Leipzig supporters would have traveled to Klagenfurt.
Where were they?
I have no idea.
They were hiding. They knew all the cool places. You didn't.
Yeah, of course. Of course, it must have been, because I took quite a long walk through the city, like 45 minutes. And the only fans I spotted was in a pizzeria. And it was like half a dozen fans that were sitting in there, and I recognized them obviously because they had clothing on. But I did not say hello to them. I just want to follow my path. So yeah, and then I went back to the station, and from there I was like, okay, now you can travel either by public transport, or you can take another 45 minutes of walk. And I was like, okay, come on, if you want to get to the station after the game, I like to know what the way looks like and where to go, and where maybe is a building site or something like that. And so it took me another 45 minutes to finally arrive at the stadium.
Okay, and you sent me some interesting pictures, and I learned that Klagenfurt is actually partner or twin city of Dessau. Now, Dessau is also in the east of Germany, not too far away from us. And they're famous and associated with the Bauhaus design. So I thought that was really interesting as well. But I had to laugh when you sent me those pictures of those picturesque buildings, but nobody seemed to be out and about. And your remark about missing RB Leipzig supporters, that kind of startled me. And I thought this was fake news, that 800 supporters would actually travel out there, and you would be pretty much the only one. But you weren't. Now, you also sent some pictures, and we put that on socials as well when you arrived at the stadium. And the reason why Sturm Graz, the current reigning champions of the Austrian League, play at the stadium in Klagenfurt, I think it's the Wörthersee Stadion, very modern stadium, I quite like the look of it, is because it holds up to 30,000 spectators and is bigger than their home ground, and Klagenfurt is not too far away from Graz either, I understand. So when you sent me those pictures, it looked like a UFO in the middle of nowhere, and you described that and said, this stadium is in the middle of nowhere. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, you're walking through the city, so it was a main road, out of the city, and I just followed the road because that would have led right into the stadium. And the stadium is a part of the city in a way, but like in the far southwest end of the city, not that far away from the Wörthersee actually. And you turn around a corner, and all of a sudden there was this UFO.
Boom, boom.
Okay, where did that come from? Because you cannot spot it from 100 or 200, 400 meters away, because the houses, they're not very high houses there. And the road that I walked, but high enough to not take a look over their roofs to spot something even greater or higher in the further background. So I just turned around the corner and I was like, okay, wow, that's pretty huge and it's impressive. And then I was like, maybe all stadiums, because I don't travel away that often, and so every time when I went to a stadium, I'm really impressed. And then and at that moment, I was like, okay, hey, I think we usually forget about how tall stadiums actually are, because our home ground is built in this old thing, and all this steep hill around, or this dam around, and all this vegetation and trees, and you usually don't have this around stadiums. And if I tried to imagine how our stadium would look like if this wasn't built into this old stadium, I think we would be used to this huge size of stadiums actually.
Right.
I'm not, and so I was even more impressed.
It looked quite impressive as well. So when you arrived, I presume you finally met some RB Leipzig supporters out in force. So do you think A7800 is about the accurate number?
Yes, I do. But I did not count them all. But, if you watch it on telly and try to estimate that we were eligible for 5%. So I think the 35,000 is the capacity of the stadium, and 5%, so 1,300 something. And this away section was quite half filled. So I think it's fair to say it was about 800, yes.
Okay, that was interesting. Now, of course, Sturm Graz, the reigning champions, are still on the winter break, and playing versus RB Leipzig in the Champions League was the second competitive match of the calendar year 2025. So you kind of assumed they'll still be half asleep. And the previous match in Champions League, they lost 5-0 to Atalanta Bergamo. I was quite optimistic that the result would be better than the outcome in the end. But when you entered the pitch and you took your spot in the away section, what was the mood in the camp in general of the home side, home crowd, and of those people? I mean, 800 is quite impressive to come out to Austria in the middle of the week, because Austria is so nice. That's what I learned from you now.
It is indeed. I think in the away section, the RB Leipzig supporters were all quite relaxed.
Okay.
So it seemed like everyone had a nice trip and no problems to get into the stadium at all. And before, or even outside the stadiums, there was just a bunch of policemen, and but they just stood there and looked holes in the air, like we say in German.
They watched paint dry.
They watched paint dry. Great. And so there was just relaxing mood, and I was like, okay, this is the last Champions League match for quite a long time.
It seems we'll like just that, leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
and no one had any great ambitions, and everyone was like, okay, let's just enjoy this. And to me, according to the home fans, it felt like there was quite more ambitious, and I was stunned how many home supporters was there that early. If you're going to a RB Leipzig home match, and you're arriving 2 hours before kickoff,
it's empty.
You're the only one. You're the only one, basically. Yeah.
Well, because everybody's out taking advantage of the happy hour and getting drinks at a reduced rate. Nobody would be inside the. Not many people would be inside the stadium, but around the stadium, well, kinda. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I arrived actually 3 hours before kickoff, and even then there was a whole lot of Sturm Graz supporters, so outside the stadium area. And as soon as I entered the stadium, and I was like within the first dozen of Leipzig supporters that entered the stadium, and I climbed up the stairs, and then I take a look around, and the stands itself, they were empty, of course, but I had a nice view in this, this food court or in this restroom area, in this area where you can walk around, and that was quite full at that time. And it didn't take long, and the south stand filled with the hardcore supporters, with the ultras. And you're like, 90 minutes before kickoff, that was quite full at this this stand. And then it was like, okay, they seems to have a plan for
were
tonight.
Were they quite noisy, or even before the match?
In the beginning, yes, when their lads came out, they were quite noisy, but then they settled down again. And I was like, it was like, okay, they need to eat their Sachertorte, or what you're doing in Austria usually.
Okay, interesting. So when the match started, one more thing I need to ask. So usually RB Leipzig supporters, especially in the German-speaking area, get a lot of stick, and for the type of club they are. And I would imagine that Sturm Graz, being in that league with Red Bull Salzburg, or FC Salzburg, how they are called internationally, would react the same way, in a hostile way, to RB Leipzig fans. Did you get any of that, or was it quite friendly?
It was quite friendly.
Okay.
So because there were some encounters, there was like a little shop just around the stadium, and there were some encounters between both fan sides, and there was no animosity or something like that. Not at all.
Okay. Interesting. And even during the match, we get the typical chants of Scheiß Red Bull. Did they maybe have to do this? No, you don't. Okay.
No, yeah, maybe one time when
maybe
there was
gets old. Maybe it gets old and boring.
Yeah, maybe. But it's an evergreen.
It's an evergreen. But maybe Sturm Graz is so superior in their league, beating Red Bull Salzburg left, right, center, and beating us as well. They don't need to resort to that.
They don't care about anymore. Who are you? But what's that Red Bull? I never heard about it.
Yeah. What's this in my can right here? Okay, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
black 20 something.
Wow. So during the match, did the mood change? You mentioned that RB Leipzig supporters were quite relaxed when our lads came on, and when the match started. And I understand it was quite challenging to watch at times. How did the mood develop?
Well, we were quite optimistic, and I think the very first 20 to 30 minutes was not that bad. It was not great or good either, sure. But, there were high discipline defensively and some glimpses of ideas offensively. And I was like, okay,
oh my God.
It just needs to went in one ball, and we had some corners, right? That there was we did not have one corner kick against Leverkusen, and then we had it was 9 or something versus Sporting that week before, and we had some corner kicks right now, and I was like, okay, the only possibility we might get goals out of this is via set pieces, and there were some. Now I told you something completely rubbish, because we had actually 9 corners versus Leverkusen, and it was the other way around. So
are you sure?
Okay. Anyway, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, and all of a sudden, so like with the first real chance, we were behind 1-0, and that was the point. The mood changed a little bit, because no, not again. And then we had this great chance by Baumgart, just before the half, and it's just a matter of centimeters, because we caught Sturm Graz that one time. They were not that on point defensively, and it was a nice pass right up the middle from Openda to Baumgart, and Baumgart passed it right on the right side to Getreda, and he took a shot off. So maybe he can score from that position if he hits the ball a little bit with more accuracy. But it actually bounced back to Baumgart, and he got the rebound, and then he slipped. And because of that, he did not hit the ball correctly and just went over the bar and not into the back of the net that were empty. Yeah, and it's just a matter of centimeters, And that was a point. And shortly after that, it was halftime. And it was like, okay, now we had a little bit of bad luck to fall behind here. But it wasn't that bad. We were not great either.
You were optimistic. You were optimistic.
I were optimistic, because I was like, okay, if that's the foundation we can build up this last moment in the first half, then we still had a chance. But, obviously there was nothing left in the second half.
It was dreadful, wasn't it?
It was. So because the last shot on goal was from Baumgartner in the 55th minute. After that, there was just nothing.
So the people in the away section, in the supporter section, did they get angry, or was it just sheer disbelief and you guys were stunned and speechless?
Yes, it was pretty much this.
Really?
It was no booing, no whistling. It was just like, come on, this is like a nightmare.
Yeah,
and we cannot wake up. It's like. What kind of team is that we're watching here? Is this RB Leipzig? No, is this some fake team that they sent out? But it's our top 11 players that went out there.
But why didn't you guys get angry or aggravated?
I think
circumstances. There was nothing, to gain from that, or
but
it really sounds defeatist.
But it's nothing new.
Okay.
Maybe it was something like, okay, we are used to it and we already had low expectations. So I think most of the people expected to win there, but I don't think that anyone expected that we would show a great effort.
No, yeah, you're right.
We would show like a playing like a Spitzenmannschaft, like a
top team, yeah. Top side, yeah.
No one expected that, and finally that didn't happen. And if you don't expect anything, you cannot get disappointed. And that was the mood.
But it's made a big effort to travel out there 11 hours, through picturesque scenes, nice city. But it's the middle of the week. People would have taken time off, like you.
Yeah, but a lot
spend
of
money.
people
Spend money already as well in the process.
Yeah.
Or did the beard sedated you guys?
Oh yeah, no. There was quite a lot of young lads, young supporters, like from 18 to 25. They were in good mood, and they had like some nice alcohol acceleration. So actually, nobody was drunk as hell.
You're like, boy.
But they were not in the mood to care about what's happened on the pitch. With more intense than necessary.
Now I understand in this block there's still people who are like capos who determine what chants are sung in the away section. Did that differ at all? Were there different type of chants from when they were playing at home? Or was it pretty much the same and even the same order?
It differed a little bit. I'm not a typical section B viewer, so
but you have ears. You can hear them when you're in the stadium.
Yeah. Yeah, but usually my focus is more on the pitch, and it's not that I recognize every chant song. But I have some connection to one of those guys from the so-called active fans, and I asked him after the game, so like 2 days after the game, so, hey, come, just tell me about the Capos and why did they did that? Because you're right. I felt it was like, okay, this is some songs I don't know. And it seemed like just around me, lots of people don't know either. And he was like, yeah, that was on purpose because they did not felt like to have any, any sense of igniting to make a spark for the whole 800 supporters. They were just like, okay, let's do what we're doing and then doing some ultra chants here. And they sang then for quite a long time. So one chant like 8, 10, 12 minutes.
You should have known the words in the end.
I knew, but there was some kind of hard rhythm to keep up with, to be honest. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. It's maybe a little bit like the team. The team, they're okay. I would like to think they're still competitive when they go out there, even though they can't progress and they can't drop down too many spots further, and it doesn't really matter. Apart from the fact that we're missing out on 2 million euros, so we could have won. So it is similar to the fans who said, okay, let's be out here. We had a long trip. Let's just enjoy the scenery and being here watching a football game with one of the teams playing not so great. Okay. So it's a bit like...
Actually, both teams did not play great, to be fair.
Yeah.
It was just... It wasn't... I did not watch any UEFA Champions League game, but I bet that was one of the worst, if not the worst Champions League match played this season long.
To be honest, I had a channel and I looked and I watched the sort of conference. They did a conference. Okay, with quite a lot of games happening at the same time. Sturm Graz versus RB Leipzig did not feature at all. It was, and understandably so, to be honest. So you've gone to Austria, and we'll talk about your trip back and your encounters there in a minute. But what are your key takeaways after this match and after this trip?
I don't trust our offense anymore.
Oh God, okay. Even our club legend, Yusuf Paulsen, you should trust him.
Yeah, it's just the momentum. This will come back, but as it stands right now, and if you take a look back the recent weeks and months, when was our offense great? Versus Bremen, versus Augsburg.
Augsburg, that's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. And maybe there was some 1 or 2 games in between, okay, to be fair. But in the youngest history, and to take a look back, was it great versus Sporting?
No.
It was okay. So
yeah,
was it great versus Leverkusen? No, not at all. Mm-hmm. Because we need an own goal and a set piece, and it was a deflected ball that went in. And besides of that, there were almost no chances from not came from set pieces. So versus Bochum, were we great there? No, because it was this calamity ball, this slapstick ball from Orban that went in. Then was this goal from Nusa, quite nice, but yeah, it could have been offside easily. And I don't remember the third goal. So, but when we would have needed them to come back after we received the equalizer versus Bochum, they were just not on point.
So many times this season, yeah. Always comes to mind the match at Hoffenheim. Taking the lead 3 times, losing that damn thing.
That's... Yeah, but that was not the offense that time. It was more defense and the whole team. But it's if you cannot bring any pressure on an Austrian side team, and I don't care if they're
on the winter break as well.
Yes.
Second competitive match this year. Come on.
Yeah, and it's same week by week. It's not that we're not winning or that we're losing. It's not the point. The point is they're just shitty offense, and I have no other term to describe it. This offense is just not good in recent weeks and months, and my trust is gone.
Devastating. Okay, moving on. Tell me about your trip back. 11 hours through the night on a sleeper. The sleeper train.
The sleeper was very short only. So, but at first I had to get back to the stadium, and it was quite cold. Boy, it was cold.
You're not used to this anymore.
No, I'm not, because I was outside for I stepped off the train. It was 4:30. And from that point, I was outside.
Yeah.
So
fresh air. A lot of fresh air.
Beautiful. A lot of fresh air.
In Austria.
And it was and temperatures was about 0 degrees Celsius. And I was expecting a Blocksperre, as we say in German, so that you are not allowed to leave the stadium from the away section. Sometimes
we're harmless people. We don't fight.
Yeah. And obviously the Sturm Graz people were harmless too, so there was no Blocksperre at all. And I was like, okay, let's go to I was like, come on, let's get another beer. And waiting the stadium gates open. And I went down the stairs and the gates were open actually. So I had cold hands and this cold beer outside now. I had to take a 45 minutes walk back to the station.
Great combination.
Oh my gosh. And I was really thankful that the heating was just 20. It felt it was like 24 degrees when I entered the station. It was so warm.
Sauna train.
It was so warm. But then I had to wait for a little bit more than an hour because the sleeper left just shortly past 1 o'clock. And I was wondering beforehand, because I booked in a 4 couchette compartment.
Okay.
And I was like, will there be other people sleeping already? Hopefully they don't
Lock
wake.
fans.
They don't get awake when I'm entering. But on the platform, there were some other people that actually entered the train, and I was at the door at the car, and the train attendant walked out, and I was like, okay, hey, I got couchette number 54, and he was like, yeah, just like walk the hallway, and the doors open, and that 3 gentlemen behind me had the same at the same compartment.
Oh no!
And I was like, okay, that was very smart. That 4 people entering the same compartment at the same time, so nobody else.
Extremely efficient.
Yes,
wow!
It's Austrian style. I would like to call that.
We lost our ways over here a little bit.
So, but I spotted those 3 gentlemen before, and that was actually Sturm Graz supporters.
Oh my God. It sounds like trouble.
But actually, they were quite peaceful as all of those people.
Peaceful, very good.
And they were like 50 plus and older.
Yeah,
So,
but loads of experience riding across Europe.
Obviously. So, and it did not, and they were quite not. They were not noisy at all, and so it did not take long. And I fell asleep, and I did find some kind of sleep in the sleeping car, and I had to step off like 7:30 in the morning again. So I received some like 5-6 hours of sleep, because it was just shortly before 7 in the morning, when the train attendant knocked at the door, and I got delivered breakfast at bed.
Wow,
That's
better
great,
than
isn't
at
it?
home.
Yes, I never get breakfast at bed at home.
We've got this on tape now. You're in
Now.
trouble.
Maybe we will see. And then it was, and before the station where I went off was St. Pölten, and there was another station like an hour before, and in that station, 2 of those 3 gentlemen left the train, so only 1 was left. And when you're awake, like in a compartment that you have to share, you get into some kind of conversation.
Of course,
and he
because
asked
you're
me,
a friendly guy.
Yeah, and he asked me if I were at the stadium last night, and I was like, yes, but I
I usually travel around in RB Leipzig gear.
Yeah, but the only RB Leipzig gear I have is this just little piece of something on my keys.
Whoa, you're in disguise.
So, but I never
in disguise.
I never have a scarf or a jersey or something like that. I like to, I like to sink in a society that I'm not part of. Actually, I love that. I love to get disappeared.
You look different when we went to Berlin twice.
Yeah, because there was something different.
Nico Schlotterbeck, he's still terrified.
That's another story, and should be told another day. Where was that? Okay, And we started some conversation. He asked me, did you go to the stadium? I was like, yeah, but I was in the away section. And he was like, okay. And so tell me about what is it? I know, first he told me that he is quite okay with Red Bull in Austria, because he recognized the effect that this Red Bull supporting have developed the Austrian football,
especially the national team.
Yeah,
the team Austria is beautiful to watch, and they played such a very good role in the last European Championships. They wouldn't have done that 20 years ago.
Yeah, and he appreciated it, and he was like, okay, if there wasn't Red Bull with this whole development thing in the Salzburg area,
and
in the League, yes, they would have not possible to develop like that, and that's why he was like, okay, this you have to keep that in mind. So he was not that anti-Red Bull, as he told me. And so we had a little nice conversation. So he asked me what I did before 2009, and I was just told him a very short story of Leipzig football after the unification in 1990. And then I asked him, because actually that train went to Vienna. And if you want to travel from Klagenfurt to Graz, it's kind of way into the east But, Graz is in the southeast of Austria and Vienna is in the far east, more northern east in Austria. So it's not that you need to step on that train if you want to travel to Graz. So it was obvious that he wasn't a hometown Graz guy. And I asked him, how did he come to Sturm Graz? Because obviously it seems that he not live in Graz, or at least anymore. And then he told me, no, he is actually from Amstetten. And he never had something in common with the Great Vienna clubs. So when he was a child, obviously. So he needed to find some other club to support. And then he was on a youth camp during the holidays. And there was some older guy that he had a holiday friendship with. And that was Sturm Graz supporter. And that's why he is now, he became a Sturm Graz supporter actually. And I was just like, okay, so it could have been Grazer AK anyway. And he was like, yeah, if it could have been worse, and it could have been the GAK. That's so kind of funny, but he was a nice guy, friendly guy, so funny guy. We had a nice little conversation as we had breakfast together, and so yeah, it was quite cool. And I stepped out 7:30.
But he also,
St. Pölten.
You mentioned that he remembered the last encounter they had. With the Leipzig team. That was 1983.
It was 1983. Yeah, when Sturm Graz faced Lok Leipzig in the UEFA Cup. It was in the third round. So in the round of the last 16, and Sturm Graz actually won. So
unbelievable.
Leipzig
don't forgive
clubs,
them.
clubs from Leipzig and clubs from Austria. It's not a love story.
Oh, sorry. Lok Leipzig won versus Rapid Wien. When they progressed towards the final in that year. I think
in the 70s?
1986, 1987, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so. But maybe Graz, no? Graz is not a team for Leipzig teams.
And he told me about
that tradition now.
Obviously. And he told me about his Leipzig trauma. Because he traveled to Leipzig during the Euros to watch Team Austria versus Turkey.
No, and you were there too.
I was there too.
I know.
and I told him, and I told him right into the face, but Turkey deserved that.
And then he punched you.
No, it was a peaceful guy. But actually, that was what I felt, because I had to admit is Team Austria played a great preliminary round during the Euros. Yeah. It was great. It was fun to watch.
The Netherlands, remember?
Yeah. And I kept my fingers crossed, and I was like, okay, that team deserves to make a deep run, maybe even to the final, and maybe even go all the way. I don't know. And then they had arguably their worst performance in that particular match, and Team Turkey their best on the other hand side. So that's why it's called funny old game, I guess.
Yeah. Well, but so when you stepped off the train, then they went on to, I don't know, Vienna or to Amstetten.
No, Amstetten was the station before, so that guy, the last guy in the compartment, was traveling to Vienna, yeah.
Sounds like a really good trip. I mean, in the space of 24 hours, less than 24 hours, to be honest. Well, a little bit more. Sorry, a little bit more. You took off 5:45.
Yeah.
Although the match was not good at all. It was actually bad. And your encounter with some other RB Leipzig fans was interesting, and just to get the mood and the sense there and the sense they approached it. Just one more thing. I suppose the team after the match made their way into to the area where the away supporters are. What was the mood then?
Everyone was just putting up its scarf and chanting like a famous chant. And yeah, it was more than the ultra supporters, that were singing, and only 2 or 3 guys I heard whistling. And so it was just peaceful. Everyone was disappointed, but no one felt, okay, this is the point now to even get a punch more into their faces by booing on them. It was not the mood. What was the
expression on the players' faces? Did you make anything? Or was it like?
Yeah, they were stunned as well. They was speechless and disappointed and just empty faces.
Empty, bad day in the office.
Yeah.
Why the heck did we have to play
once more?
Oh no! Hopefully they can come out of it as well. I'm glad you went there, because at the end of the day, why do you think that? I mean, I will tell you afterwards.
Yeah, me too, because it's, to me, this is fun. Yeah. It's fun. For me, it's fun traveling in trains. I like that because I can read, I can sleep, I can listen to music and do whatever I want to do. Beer. And watching picturesque landscape just around me. Yeah, drink beer, maybe. And you know what? And you get some nice little cliches actually approved. Yeah, because I wrote you and I would like to tell it in German, and you could maybe try to translate that, because there was in that one particular train from Linz to Leoben, there was this old man in the row next to me, and there was some service at the train where you could order some drinks and food, and there was the train attendant and came and asked if anyone would have liked to have something, and there was this old man, and he was like, Verzeihung, kann ich bitte verlängert haben? Milch und Zucker. You know, and that was this typical Austrian accent. And then not only that, because he ordered actually a verlängerten. So can you translate it? I can tell you what
extended is like a long coffee.
Yeah, extended. It's long coffee. And you know what it is? It's a coffee with water. It's a coffee extended with water.
It's actually diluted. It's not a real coffee. The Italians would kick you out.
No, it's not. And if you put into milk, you can just leave it like that again. So come on, just take water.
But maybe it's from the old days, isn't it? When
obviously
you wouldn't drink coffee like we do, and you had to stretch it out. Actually,
but this extended stretch coffee. This is a typical Austrian style of drinking coffee.
Do you know when you just spoke in this typical accent, and you do this really well, I must admit.
Thank you.
In my mind, I had these pictures of old Austrian black and white movies with Hans Moser. And the way you described this old gentleman, really interesting. So I guess now we're talking amongst ourselves. Nobody's listening because nobody's relating to it. But I think, when you described your journey through the mountains and all the different views you can see there, that is something extraordinary and something people in Austria maybe take for granted because they got this all the time. And for us over here, especially, we're not living in anywhere near any mountains, and the Erzgebirge is not that exciting either, but it's good to go there. So I think that has made it definitely worthwhile. So I'm glad you went there and you had a good time at the end of the day, and took back a lot of memories. And at the end of the day, it was a match of football, which the outcome didn't matter. And hopefully, nobody got injured, and it doesn't put a dent on our future performance. But thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. Now, we have to move on because we've been talking for quite a long time, but on this English version, we're taking our time. Now, you might have noticed that we also started a German version called RBL Compact, or the RBL Compact. And this version is compact because it's never longer than 20 minutes and 9 seconds. So there we have to speed things up. But here in the English version, we take our time, and this is beautiful. Now, a couple days later, or 1 or 2 days later after the match, the news emerged that RB Leipzig actually bought a player named Xavi Simons. And I like to ask you, what was your reaction when you heard about that?
I think it's great, to be honest. This is great because it's the key player in our squad, and I think there is no doubt. And if he is setting the tone now, so come on, and this could be a sign to any other lads. So hey, come on, Lukeba, Raum, Schlager, maybe Openda, Shesko. Look, I'm staying here with this club for at least one more season, maybe 2 more seasons. And with this guarantee, think about yourselves if you want to join me and if you want to build something great. And if we get the 2023 Xavi Simons back, I think this is a very smart move. And so now I think it's now important to develop the team around him. Yeah. To get back into winning ways by the start of the next season. And hopefully he stays with us even if we should miss Champions League or even if we should miss international business.
It's very interesting. So you put this into a very positive spin. My initial reaction was, great. Not wonderful. This is exciting. This is amazing. It was more like, great. And I wondered, why am I reacting that way? And why is that sort of an anticlimax, to be honest? Well, first of all, I was still miffed. I was still worked up about that match, losing 1-0 to an opponent of the, no disrespect, Austrian League, who are still on the winter break, and the way they were playing. So I was still really kind of upset about that. And also, it is, in my eyes, well, it was probably clear before that match versus Sturm Graz, and now they pulled this out as a positive PR stunt to pacify everybody and inject some optimism. That's great. And you mentioned something really interesting, and that's building the team around him and coming back to winning ways for next season. Now, I'm really a little bit concerned about that because we have to start getting back to winning ways earlier. And why am I not so excited about it? No disrespect to Xavi Simons, and no disrespect to all the people who worked on this. And yes, it's the highest transfer fee RB Leipzig ever paid, and it's the highest profile player in that sense as well. And it sends out... I almost said it sends out a strong signal to the market, well, to the league, to the Bundesliga, and also to top leagues European-wide, that all of a sudden RB Leipzig is changing tact a little bit and actually is able to secure players like that. Well, but you have to admit, Richard, at the moment, it doesn't help us. It doesn't help us in the sense of that we have a new player who can really support us. Now, Riedle Baku arrived in this transfer window, and he's been in playing, but does that fill you with great excitement? Maybe not. And other than that, now we're going to talk about Elmas in a second, and we're trying to get rid of Silva, but Silva is now still with the squad. Obviously, West Ham United didn't secure Silva for a loan. We still have 3 people on the injury list with Asan, and nobody knows what's happening with Xaver Schlager, and we know Benny Henrich is out until the end of the season. And then you get rid of Elmas, maybe want to get rid of Silva. Okay, Silva's still there. Elmas never played. It doesn't help us right now. So I'm kind of wondering what kind of signal that sends out to the rest of the supporters. What is RB Leipzig going to be able to accomplish for the rest of the season? Are we going to end up in the top 4? Maybe is it not that important anymore, but I don't think it should be. It should still be important. And that's why I'm still not as excited. And I think many people have looked on socials. Many people are feeling the same way. Not as excited as I would have been if we were if we had good momentum, if we had the feeling there is a clear pathway. We had the feeling that RB Leipzig, can deal with the team, can tactically, and during the match, deal with everything that is thrown against them, at them. They can change tact and try to win games in a convincing way as well. All of that is currently not there, and I feel a bit flat about the whole thing, and maybe that's what it is. And that's the first time this season, because usually I'm the optimistic guy and trying to stay optimistic, but at the moment, maybe after that match versus Sturm Graz, which was lost so needlessly in that sense, I'm not as optimistic. So but you're right, it's a strong signal. It's a signal, and it should give us confidence that the team's going to be built around him, and we're going to be hopefully powerful next season. But what does it mean for the rest of the season? That's my big question.
Yeah, I see your point there. But on the other hand side, if imagine we're performing as we performed in the recent seasons, and I think about a Soboslai. It was just so high talented, and we performed well as a whole team, and we could not afford to keep him. So then was Danny Olmo, and we did it some years to keep him. Well, to be fair, he wasn't that great when he started because he had so many injuries. Yeah, and then he left. So, and if I imagine we like now in the top 4 with some slight contact to the top of the league. And Xavi stood at, 7 goals and 5 assists in 12, 13 games. He was able. I don't think that we would have been able to make this deal. So I think it's just an opportunity here and it's a bet, obviously. It's an opportunity that would have not been there if we would perform better. And it's a bet of the future. It's not like it's a worth now. The question is, will it be worth it within one season?
True.
And I say yes. And I think it's a great move, and try to keep him as long as he can. I don't remember, he's only 21 years old. He's got his whole career. It just opens now.
I'm not disrespecting that, and I don't question that. It's just, I just described the way I feel at the moment, and it's maybe it will change. It'll change as the years continues. But sorry, interesting that Elmas has finally left RB Leipzig, and Marco Rose made some interesting comments at a press conference, claiming that he was never really fit enough to be a regular feature in the RB Leipzig squad, and he did come back to the Flame squad, and he did come back to the match versus Darmstadt, where Elmas started. You and we were in the stands as well, I remember. Elmas started when he was taken off after 45 minutes, and we suspected, well, what kind of tactical move is that? And then it emerged later that he actually felt sick. And he came back to that situation saying, well, obviously you could see that after 45 minutes I had to take him off when I gave him the chance. So, and Elmas never recovered from that. But when you looked at Elmas, and when he joined the players who were warming up, he looked fit to me. But I don't know, I'm not the expert, so I'm not sure what was missing there. Did you ever suspect that, Richard, that he was just not fit? I always thought he didn't fit the system, was maybe not good enough.
I don't take this. I don't believe his words. Actually, if you're a professional football player and you're not fit, you're not starting. So why did he send him out from the very beginning and then take him off after 45 minutes and say, hey, he's not fit? And as he told in the press conference yesterday, it seemed like a general problem with Eljif, so that he was never in the shape, in the form to be a professional football player on highest level. And if that's true, there was no way that he could have started versus Darmstadt. Yeah. And even if it was true, what Marco also told yesterday, so I mean, there must have been a difference between not fit for 90 minutes or not fit at all. And if he's not fit at all, why is he on the roster? And if he's not good to go for 90 minutes, why is he only playing 5 minutes? I've got it right in front of me here. He played, it was this Darmstadt match where he had to take him off the field after 45 minutes, or where Rose took him off the field after 45 minutes. So then it was 11 days later, he played 90 minutes for North Macedonia versus Moldova. Then 3 days later, 45 another minutes versus Montenegro. Sure, this is another level, but I think the intensity that or the shape you have to keep your body in to perform and to keep up with is just the same.
I agree.
And then he came back, and then was like 5 minutes versus Mainz, 8 minutes versus Freiburg, 5 minutes versus Wolfsburg, and then finally 12 minutes at Heidenheim. And it was match week 30 in the 23-24 campaign, so this last year. And then in match week 31 and 32, he didn't even play 1 minute. And then the season ends, and he played some friendlies for North Macedonia, 90 minutes and 89 minutes. That's why I do not believe the story that he's not fit. There must have been something else. I think Marco Rose is very polite and don't want him to throw him under the bus, but I don't believe the story. Yeah. And I'm curious how he develops now at FC Turin. I will keep an eye on him, definitely.
Yeah. I'm curious about that as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is the top player that we thought he would be. But who knows? I always suspected he stole some silverware. I'm not sure.
Maybe he's not worth the 24 million that we paid, but no. I think it could have been a good addition in the width.
And especially somebody who we need, especially times like this where we had so many injuries and people then being suspended. And I was really wondering, why the hell is he not coming on? What is going on here? Okay, so hopefully we have a good solution. That is a good solution for him. Hopefully he performs well at Turin and he makes a good comeback. That would be awesome. And we wish him all the best. Now, obviously, Andre Silva is still here. West Ham United didn't take him out on a loan. There were talks, apparently there were talks in the last couple of days. So here we are. According to the RB Leipzig website, he's an option for today's match versus Union Berlin. So the squad is still as compact as it was before. We're in a similar situation like many for the last 2, 3, 4 years. Tight squad. Not so tight schedule anymore because Champions League, we don't have to go there anymore. Still playing R&D at DFB Pokal, and depending on that, if we do progress, there might be 1 or 2 more matches. But the rest is just the league. So shall we concentrate and have a look at our next opponent, Richard?
Introducing our next opponent, their Gegnercheck.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Die
yeah.
Rostigen.
Our beloved club from East Berlin.
It's not a derby.
No, it's not. It's not a derby at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, I could care less.
Me too. Yeah.
So Union Berlin, it's a tough season for them. Replaced their coach during this short winter break. So Bo Svensson was sacked and, Steffen Baumgart acquired. And the last 13 games now, and 4 of them, there was Steffen Baumgart in charge, it's just one word, it was devastating. Mm-hmm. Only 1 win, 2 draws, and 10 losses. Only 7 goals scored, but 26 received. That's just the sad track record from the last 13 games on Union Berlin. And actually, what I find is very funny, according to Steffen Baumgart, it is his second stint in Berlin-Köpenick. Did you know that?
I did.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You did? Oh, you're a smart ass. So you obviously know that he was a coach in the 2014-2015 season. Yeah.
Sorry.
He was a coach for the SSV Köpenick Oberspree.
Yeah, it sounds like Kabelwerk to me as well.
Yeah. So to any international listener, Berlin-Köpenick is the port of the city that is Union Berlin is placed. And obviously there are some minor clubs and some minor leagues. And SSV Köpenick Oberspree Berlin, I did not find out what league that was. I think it was like something below Oberliga, maybe. Landesliga Berlin or something like that. So it would be
like the 6th or 7th tier or something like that.
Something like that. So when it was like 10 years ago that Steffen Baumgart was there, and now he's back at Berlin-Köpenick. In a sense, he took over. It seems he's still struggling with the team. So in terms of he did not have found his tactical formation right now. So 4 games he was responsible, 3 different lineups, 4 different formations. And it seems that he is trying to find new winning ways. And he did so during his time at the Hamburger SV. So when he was in charge at the FC Köln, he always played with the back 4. Always. No, it was not one game. And I looked it up. It was not one game where it changed that. And when he was at Hamburger SV, there was, he had back 4 in most of his games, but then he switched a little. And during the later games, just shortly before he got sacked. And now I think in this very first 4 matches, he has twice played with the back 4 and 2 times with the back 3 and in the 5-guy midfield. So I'm curious about his approach this time on tonight, 6:30. So we're recording Saturday. And to Union Berlin in general, according to the player staff or the players that are available for them, well, to me it seems that none of those lads has gotten better. When they transfer to Union. And that's kind of strange because just to drop some names here, they have Yannick Haberer. And I always liked them because when he was at SC Freiburg, and I was like, okay, he is a solid Bundesliga player, and he always did his stuff when he was on the pitch, when Christian Streich was still there. And when he transferred to Union Berlin, I did not recognize him that much more. The same, it seems to me, for Kevin Vogt, who was in charge in the center-back field, as a back 4 for Hoffenheim for a long time. And now there is just this flood of goals scored against Berlin. And it seems like, it's not that factor of stability that he was at Hoffenheim now with Berlin. And you could go even on, and that's the saddest story of all. I think it's Kevin Volland. That guy is 32 years old. Come on. It's like you have like 3 or 4 more years in stock to be player on a professional level. And this season, he has played 2 matches, did not starting once for 37 minutes. This is ridiculous.
Wow.
And that guy was a player for Team Germany some years ago.
Not so long ago.
Yeah.
Maybe we're desperate.
Maybe. Well, and it's like, this team has not a star anymore, but they did not have during their record season when they qualified for the Champions League. So they developed star players. And Urs Fischer left because his ideas did not work out anymore, and Bo Svensson was now there for was it one or a little bit more than 1 season? I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he did not find a way to develop players into the right direction. To be honest, I don't expect that from Steffen Baumgart, because he is, in my opinion, he's not the player developer. He's not that coach that's making players better.
So why did they get him?
It's a question of who can you afford.
Okay.
and who might fits to the team. And Steffen Baumgart, I think it's a worker
mentality. So you think it's about mentality?
Yeah. And intensity, and you do have to do the very last step, and you don't have to retreat 1%, because that's the point when Steffen Baumgart will come and will take you off the pitch. That might help in the Abstiegskampf, in the fight for relegation.
So they're on a relegation battle. But, those matches versus Union Berlin, for Union Berlin, they're, I think, more special than for us. But we will know it's uneasy to play there. It's very intense. And now we're coming away from this beautiful match at Klagenfurt, where you looked into empty faces after the match, like you just explained. What's going to happen tonight?
Actually, I would not be surprised if we watch another 0-0 draw, like we've watched it in the first match at home.
Oh, that was dreadful too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's, if with this hindsight, with this watching back, it seems like nothing has changed, or not much has changed. So I don't trust our offense. I told you about that, and the offense from Union Berlin is not as good. Either. And usually our defense, so our back 4 is not that bad. I think it's okay. We had some troubles now with speed, but you cannot defend Florian Wirtz and you cannot defend Frimpong. This is okay. And we had some troubles with defending set pieces most recently.
Mm-hmm.
But besides of that, when from the open play, it's not that there is panic or havoc or something like within our box. I think this is okay. So we're doing okay. And I don't think that we'll be seeing a lot of goals tonight. So 0-0 draw is what I expect. And Union Berlin just don't have the individual quality. And I don't think that they are now tactical adjusted as they should be to find ways to steamrolling our defense minute by minute.
So what do you expect in terms of, it's going to be an intense fight, intense match. Do you think our team will be capable of taking that on? And possibly maybe getting more than 1 point?
Well, to answer the last question, no.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, on my notes here, this will be... 0-0 draw would not surprise me, but it would not surprise me in 0-2 loss and either. And that this could have been the last match of Marco Rose. I would not be surprised.
To be honest, I had quite a similar feeling after the Sturm Graz match. I almost expected something's going to happen this weekend. But surely, if we lose to Union Berlin, like you just suggested, and I think, it'll get very, very, very tight for Marco Rose. Not sure who would take over his position, but that is something we could talk about and talk about when we cross that bridge. So, nevertheless, let's have a look, Richard, who Marco Rose is going to send out on the pitch.
Same old. Who is there? Gulashi, Baku, Bitshabu, Orban, and Raum will make it way back onto the pitch in the starting 11. So I don't think that Kevin Campbell is good to go. So I expect Haidara and Silva to start again.
Oh, you're a famous player.
He wasn't that bad in Graz, to be honest. And Baumgartner had some negative vibes after the match. Received from Rose, because he told the reporters in the press conference that he has to do it better. And I was like, what did he watch? Because Baumgartner was one of the better players on that night, in my opinion. But okay, I'm not a coach, so I expect him to get a break. And that's why. And so I think Nusa and Simmons will come back, and then hopefully Mr. Openda gets a break as well. Not that I don't like him, but it seems like he's just not overplayed. Mm-hmm. And so I expect Šeško and Paulsen to start. So because Šeško had his break during Wednesday.
Okay. Doesn't sound so bad, to be honest, but we will see how this pans out. And, well, we all know even if we're 3-0 up, it may not be enough. So let's see. So what do you predict in terms of score?
0-0 draw.
It's tough, isn't it? I'm tempted to say we lose 2-0, but I'm going to go with a 1-0 draw. All right. Thank you, Richard. Thanks for letting us know how your trip to Graz or Klagenfurt went. A lot of very interesting insights. Thanks a lot. And your views on the transfer window and the activity and inactivity of RB Leipzig, and our preview to tonight's match versus die rostigen Eisernen at the Wohlheite Union Berlin. Thanks. One more thing I like to mention about Union Berlin. The coach, Steffen Baumgart, was asked, is this a derby? And he said, I don't want to hear about this anymore, but I acknowledge and I actually recommend. I actually like what RB Leipzig did in Leipzig, the work they've done really good work. And I think it's time to accept that and move on. And everybody can decide if they like it or not. But at the end of the day, respect what they've done in Leipzig. So I think that was a fair comment. First time we kind of hear that from one of the officials of Union Berlin. You know, that club in Berlin. Anyways, thanks a lot for everyone who is listening to us. We really appreciate that. Follow us on our socials. We'll be back next week. We'll be back next week. There is no Englische Woche nächste Woche. And if you want to get in touch with us, send us an email at podcast@bosenred.com. Have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves. Danke, Richard. And I'd like to conclude with Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs!
Thank you.